Here's the windup and the pitch. He swings. There it goes. Going. Gone. Home run. Have you ever taken a swing, felt the ball hit that sweet spot on the bat? There's not much like it. This is Death of the Right Fielder by Stuart Dybek. After too many balls went out and never came back, we went out to check. It was a long walk. It's hard to tell how long he'd been laying there. Sprawled on his face, he hadn't been laying in the infield. His presence, or lack thereof it, would have, of course, been noticed immediately. The infield demands communication. The constant, reassuring chatter of team play. But he was remote, clearly an outfielder. The infield is for wisecrackers, pepper pots, gum poppers. The outfield is for loners, onlookers, brooders who would rather study clover and swat gnats than holler. People could easily much be divided between infielders and outfielders. Not that anyone has a choice. He didn't necessarily choose right field as much as accepted it. There were several theories as to what killed him. From the start, the most popular was that he'd been shot. Perhaps from a passing car, perhaps by that gang calling themselves the Jokers, who played 16-inch softball on the concrete diamond with painted bases in the center of the housing project, or by the Latin lords, who didn't play a sport, period. Or maybe it was some pervert with a telescopic sight from a bedroom window, or a mad sniper from an expressway overpass. Or maybe it was an accident, a stray slug from a robbery or a shootout, or an assassination attempt miles away. No matter who pulled the trigger, it seemed more plausible to ascribe his death to a bullet than to natural causes like, say, a heart attack. Young deaths are never natural. They're all violent. Not that kids don't die of heart attacks. But he just never seemed the type. The shooting theory is better, even though there wasn't a mark on him. Still, not everyone was satisfied. Other theories were formulated, rumors became legends over the years. He had an allergic reaction to a bee sting, been struck by a single bolt of lightning from a freak instantaneous electrical storm, ingested too strong of a dose of insecticide from the grass blades he chewed on, sonic waves, radiation, pollution, etc. A few of us like to think it simply that chasing a lining sinker, diving to make a shoestring catch, and he broke his neck. There was a ball in the webbing of his mitt when we turned him over. His mitt had been pinned under his body and was coated with an almost luminescent gray film. There was the same gray along the bill of his cap, the blue felt one with the red C, which he always denied was not for the Chicago Cubs. He may have been a loner, but he didn't want to be identified as a loser. He was just an ordinary guy, 250 at the plate, and we stood above him not knowing what to do next. Someone suggested a team prayer. Then no one could think of a team prayer. So we all just stood there silently, bowing our heads, pretending to pray while the shadows moved darkly across the outfield grass. After a while, the entire diamond was swallowed, and the field lights came on. In the bluish squint of those lights, he didn't really look like someone we had once known. Nothing looked quite right. And we hurriedly scratched a shallow grave, covered him over, and stamped it down as much as possible so that the next right fielder, whoever he'd be, wouldn't trip. It could just such a juvenile, seemingly trivial stumble that would ruin a great career before it had begun, or hamper 8 years later the way Mantle's was hampered by bum knees. One can never be sure the kid beside him isn't another Roberto Clemente. And whoever know how many potential great ones have gone down the obscurity of their neighborhoods. In all likelihood, their next right fielder, whoever he'd be, would be clumsy too. And if there was a mound to trip over, he did find it and break his neck. Soon the right field would end up getting a reputation as haunted as kind of a Sandlot Bermuda Triangle, inhabited by phantoms calling it for ghostly fly balls, where no one but the most desperate outcasts, already on the verge of suicide, would be willing to play. Still, despite our efforts, we couldn't totally disguise it. His outline remained visible, a scuffed bald spot that might have been confused for an aberrant pitcher's mound, except for the bat jammed into the earth with a mitt and blue cap fit over it. Perhaps we didn't want to eradicate it completely. A part of us was resting there. Perhaps we wanted the new right fielder, whoever he'd be, to notice it and wonder who played there before him. Realizing he was now the only link between past and future that mattered. A monument, epitaph, flowers wouldn't be necessary. As for us, we walked back. But by then it was too late. Going on to supper, getting on to the end of summer vacation, time for other things like college, careers, settling down and raising a family. Past 35, the talk starts about being over the hill, about a graying Hoyt Willem in his 40s, still fanning them with the knuckler as if it was some kind of miracle. About Pete Rose, still going in head first at 37, beating the odds. And maybe the talk is right. One remembers Mays, 40, and a Met, dropping it, that can of corn and fly in the 71 series. All that gray stripped away from him, and with it, the conviction, leaving a man confused and apologetic about the boy in him. It's sad to admit it, and so soon, but everyone knows those were the lucky ones. Most guys are washed up by 17. It may not have been right field, but I remember burying my dreams at second base.